transportation, transmissions and distribution, equipment, material, and fuel. Executive Order 95, exempting the Liberian Water and Seaward Corporation from custom duties on selected items. Executive Order number 96, instituting certain measures to stimulate economic growth. And Executive Order number 97, suspensions of tariff on agricultural products. Madam Vice President, President of the Senate, Speaker, and President Pro Tempore, honorable members of the 54 Legislature, I am mandated to report on revenue received and expenditure incurred in the year under review. Total revenue received amounted to $445 million United States dollars. This is 35 million United States dollars less than revenue collected from January to December of 2018, or 7.2%. Total cash expenditure for the period under review amounted to $406 million United States dollars. Honorable members of the 54 Legislature, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the year 2019 was marked by global economic uncertainty. Recovery of global economic momentum remains slow, largely due to trade and geopolitics tension, as well as country-specific effects. These constraints have vastly impacted the performance of our domestic economy. The domestic macroeconomic environment was difficult in 2019. It was characterized by low economic growth of less than 1%, annual inflation of more than 20%, and depreciation of the Liberian dollar by more than 20%. However, in the last quarter of the year under review, inflationary pressure was contained, inflicting some modest appreciation of the Liberian dollar, and of period inflation was projected to fall from 30.6 in May 2019 to 25.8. Madam Vice President, Mr. Speaker, Mr. President Pro Tempore, honorable members of the 54 Legislature, Liberian dollar inflations has undermined the income of the poor and the income of those earning in Liberian dollars. Inflation reduction therefore remains a significant goal of government planning. In order to address these macroeconomic challenges, the Liberian government engaged the International Monetary Fund in December last year, which resulted in the signing of a Memorandum of Economic and Financial Policies. Consequently, the Executive Board of the IMF approved an external credit facility of $213.6. Shortly thereafter, $23 million was disbursed under the facility to the government of Liberia through the Central Bank of Liberia. The goal of the IMF supported program is to stabilize the macroeconomy through more effective fiscal and monetary policies, and through improved governance. Working close collaboration with you, we were able to pass a credible national budget at $526 million. This budget brings public spending closer to the revenue received in the 2018-19 national budget. In executing this budget, we have taken steps to control spending so that we significantly can reduce the deficit by the end of the fiscal year. Madam President, President pro tempore of the Senate, Mr. Speaker, honorable members of the 54th Legislature, for the very first time in our entire legislative history, you show the courage, wisdom, and determination to trim the government wage bill, and we applaud you for that. Reducing the public wage bill is a long-standing, politically sensitive problem. The prior administrations were afraid to touch, but we had the courage to do so because we believe it will make everyone better off in the long run. We therefore appreciate your strong support and cooperation in passing the National Remunerations and Standardization Act, which has significantly reformed the public wage. We took no pleasure in reducing salaries for government employees through the harmonization process. And we fully understand the pain and hardship that this has caused. We want to thank all civil servants and government workers for their patience and understanding. We are not alone, as I was the one who first started the process. You will recall that my first announcement as president was the reduction of my salary 25%. And I want you to know that even that I did, my salary was subsequently further reduced during the harmonization exercise. This is how it should be, because as leaders, we should at all times bear the highest burden and lead by example. We should be the first to make the cuts and sacrifices, since we are elected to serve our people, and their interest should always come first. The harmonization exercise was necessary to ensure that the government lives within its means. During this process, we discovered that more than 25,000 public workers were being paid from the general allowance that had no particular grading system. For example, a secretary in one ministry or agency could be paid $400, while another secretary with the same level of skills and education in another ministry would be paid $1,500. We have now eliminated the general allowance systems and have ensured that all public workers have one standardized and harmonized pay. One of the outcomes of this process is that It increased the income of almost 15,000 public workers, amongst them teachers and security personnel. These reforms are by no means complete, and we will continue our efforts to perfect the wage system. We are also continuing to remove ghost names from the public payroll. And we intend to have all government workers identified with biometrics national identification numbers by next budget year. We are also working to remove from the public payroll those who have reached retirement age. Madam Vice President, President of the Senate, Mr. Speaker, Mr. President pro tempore, honorable members of the 54th Legislature, our government is committed to improving governance and improving the business climate to spur investment. Last year, we launched a $27 million supported project by the World Bank, the European Union, and the government of Sweden. This project supports better procurement, though e-procurement, stronger revenue collection, and better delivery of public goods to higher governance standards. Madam President, Mr. Pro Tempore, Mr. Speaker, members of the 54th Legislature, my administration will continue to intensify the fight against corruption, which remains prevalent in our society and continues to negatively impact growth and development. Many believe this to be an unchangeable way of life here in Liberia, acting otherwise. I believe that we will succeed in our fight against corruption, and we will bring to justice relevant individuals and cooperation who have and continue to defraud Liberia. To this end, we have hired the expertise of a world-renowned asset recovery firm to assist our local team to carry out a professional exercise to recover Liberia's wealth stolen over many decades. Additionally, we will continue to show political will in the fight against waste and abuse of our national resources. As we have shown in recent time, when the managing director and other high-profile officials were dismissed, arrested, and sent to court to vindicate themselves through accusation of corruption, there will be no sacred cow as we take stronger measures to end this societal menace. We will therefore introduce new legislation to amend the laws creating the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission in order to give it more prosecutorial powers. And we are working to improve our anti-money laundering framework. To help spur business climate this year, we will support and relaunch the National Judiciary Conference under the leadership of His Honor, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. The aim of this conference is to allow the judiciary to play a significant role in business climate reforms. This can be done by reforming rules and legal processes and procedures. that can increase the confidence of potential investors and the existing business community, as well as improve the ease of doing business in Liberia. Distinguished members of the 54th Legislature, in the year under review, we were able to negotiate and sign 16 financial instruments with various development partners, amounting to nearly $274.35 million. Approximately 194 million of this amount are loans, and about 79 million constitute grants. These loans and grants are allocated as follows: 125.1 million for road construction linking Bakleve to Sastan, Vojima to Konya, and Sanikore to Lokato. US $47 million for improving result in secondary education. US $28.95 million for improving urban water supply in Morovia. US $71.8 million for improving agriculture, and $6.5 million for youth empowerment and employment. The government public debt has increased largely because the country has had to finance major infrastructure projects over the last several years. As at end December 2019, the total stock of public debt amounted to $1.27 billion. This represents an increase of $282 million and 28.5% of our debt stock compared to the $987.8 million recorded at the end of 2018. Of the total debt stock, the share of domestic debt is $419.8 million, while external debt accounts for $849.99 million. This increase in the debt stock was mainly driven by disbursement from the World Bank, the African Development Bank, the International Fund for Agricultural Development, the Saudi Development Fund, and other creditors, which totally $129.5 million. These were loans signed and ratified by the previous administration. As part of the IMF supported program, the government of Liberia has now further reconciled and rationalized all government obligations to the Central Bank of Liberia. As of January 1st, 2020, the total government debt to the Central Bank of Liberia has been put at $487 million. Approximately 7.8 of this amount, of the 38 million, represent borrowing by the current administration in the previous 2 fiscal years. The government has agreed to pay interest at a rate 4% per annum to the central bank, and the principal amount owed, with a grace period of 10 years on principal payment. Another major driver of the increase in debt stock was the effort by our administration to consolidate accrued obligations by states-owned enterprises and exposure to local commercial banks, totaling $118.5 million. These include NASCO and 7 commercial banks, including LBDR, Afriland Banks, Eco Banks, RB Bank, UBA, GM Banks, and GT Banks. Debt owed to the commercial bank include long-standing government obligation of $65.2 million, which was the result of pre-financing of government's heavy fuel or infrastructure projects. Government guarantee to the Rubber Planters Association of Liberia in 2014, direct payment made on behalf of the government and loans given to companies for pre-financing of various government infrastructure projects. Last year, the Africa Export-Import Bank approved a bond discount facility that will disburse some $52 million to commercial banks as settlement of the $65.2 million owed by government. This flow will provide strong relief for commercial banks which face serious liquidity challenges in the year under review. Madam Vice President, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Pro Tempore, honorable members of the 54th Legislature, the domestic debt profile given above does not include domestic debt owed to vendors and businesses who have supplied goods and services to the government over the years. I am reliably informed that as far back as 2006, the government of Liberia conducted an audit of domestic debt owed to vendors. Yet, up to today, this situation remains unclear. My administration will conduct a new round of audits in 2020 to determine, rationalize, and fully reconcile domestic debt figure to complete our domestic debt profile. A payment framework will be developed after this reconciliation, which may include packaging the debt as a bond for issuance to local and international financial markets. Distinguished members of the 54th Legislature, unless domestic revenue significantly improves, meeting our debt service obligation will remain a challenge. This is because many of our external concessional loans have a 5-year grace period on payment of principal. These principal payments are coming due in the next year since the grace period has expired. As such, our debt service burden will increase in the next few years. Total debt service over the course of the fiscal year 2019-20 is projected at $65 million. In the next fiscal year, this number will increase to $98 million. The large stock of public debt places limits on our ability to borrow to finance new investment. We are committed to keeping our non-concessional borrowing within limits on the IMF-supported program and are working towards public-private financing arrangements to ease the burden on public debt. Distinguished members of the 54th Legislature, with these foundations in place, we see no reason why the year 2020 cannot see positive growth. We will work with determination, vigor, and focus to stabilize the macroeconomy, reduce inflation, and put Liberians to work in agriculture and other key sectors. Madam Vice President and President of the Senate, Mr. Speaker, Mr. President pro tempore, and honorable members of the 54th Legislature, the year 2019 was marked by global economic uncertainty and recoveries in global economic momentum. Remain slow largely due to trade and geopolitics, as well as country-specific effects. The foreign reserve position of less than 3 months of import cover was not strong enough to support the regular financing of essential imports of goods and services. This was largely explained by limited inflows of foreign exchange due to low export earnings, declining aid flows, slow direct foreign investment, and lower than expected inflows of remittances. Consequently, the Liberian dollar has persistently weakened in recent years, stabilizing only briefly during November and December of 2019, due largely to a scarcity of Liberian dollars in the banking system and weak business activities. The large amount of currency held outside the banking system also exacerbated the liquidity situation that was experienced in the latter part of the year. In spite of all of these challenges, the financial system remains largely sound and stable. In response to the challenges, liquidity problem, the CBN worked with all the relevant stakeholders and swiftly took the following additional measures: importation of 20 million from its account at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York to meet the Liberian dollar demand of the commercial bank. Promotion of the wider usage of electronic payments such as mobile money and point of sales terminals as alternative means of payment as opposed to cash. Temporary suspension of the remittance split policy to help ease the demand for Liberian dollar from commercial banks. Requests legislative approval for the printing of an additional 4 billion Liberian dollars banknotes to help mitigate the current Liberian dollar liquidity constraint facing the economy. To further address the uncertainty in the financial system, which is largely attributed to procedural lapses relating to previous printing of Liberian dollar banknotes, my government has taken several measures aimed at strengthening governance at the Central Bank of Liberia. These include the appointment of a new executive governor, a new deputy governor for economic policies, an acting deputy governor for operations, and confirmation of all non-executive members of the Board of Governors. Additionally, in an economic speech last year, I announced a policy of no government borrowing from the Central Bank of Liberia. I am pleased to report that despite salary delays and the tight fiscal situation in fiscal year 2019-2020, the government of Liberia remained firm in this commitment and did not borrow from the Central Bank of Liberia. This go forward, I want to assure you of an improved monetary condition in 2020 and beyond, aimed at promoting a stable macroeconomic environment. My government will remain committed to non-borrowing from the CBL and non-interference in its operation as an assurance of the operational independence of the bank. It will work with relevant partners, including the IMF, to strengthen the financial sector by strengthening the operations of commercial banks and the fast-tracking digitalization of our economy in order to make access to finance ease. My government will support the objective of the CBL to build our international foreign reserve, which is critical for protecting our economy against external shocks and vulnerability. Madam President and President of the Senate, Mr. Speaker, President pro tempore, honorable members of the 54th Legislature, at the inception of our administration, we announced to you and the world that infrastructure development with emphasis on roads, connectivity, will be the principal driver of our pro-poor agenda for prosperity and development. Consistent with this commitment, our development agenda has concentrated on the pavement of 517 kilometers of primary roads and pavement of community roads, the pavement of streets within county capitals, and the connections of all counties within our republic by paved roads. It is also a goal of our administration to ensure the rehabilitations and maintenance of lateral roads across Liberia, as well as the maintenance of 4,200 kilometers of urban and secondary roads. Today, I am pleased to report that significant successes were recorded in the first infrastructure sector of our country over the past year. The government of Liberia and the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, ABI, signed a loan agreement of $50 million to begin the construction of the first 96-kilometer of flagship road project, the Coastal Corridor Highway. The first segment of the Coastal Corridor Highway extends from Grand Crew County to Sino. The process of selecting a contractor is ongoing, and actual construction works are expected to begin this year. I am also pleased to inform you that funding negotiations are ongoing for the remaining segment of the Coastal Corridor Highway. We are confident that these negotiations will be fruitful. With assistance from the African Development Bank, the European Union, and the European Investment Bank, we have commenced work for the pavement of the San Equity to Lukatue Highway. This project, which is 47 kilometers long, will not only bring relief to our people, but will also enhance paved roads connectivities in the Mana River Union Basin. Pavement of the 50-kilometer highway between Calocan in River G County and Harport in Maryland County, as well as the 16-kilometer corridor between Harport Junction and the Kavala border with the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire, has been completed. This project will be dedicated during my nation world tour, which begins next month. Pavement work of the 80-kilometer highway between Calocan and Fishtown in River G County are over 50% completed. Stay in the southeast. Stay in the southeast. We are pleased to report that 20 kilometers of the highway between Fishtown and Kelopo, Kanweken in River G towards Grand Jida County have been approved for construction, and pavement works will begin this year. In the central north region of our country, construction works on the 81-kilometer Banga to Salaye Road are proceeding accordingly to schedule, and asphalt pavement will begin this year. This project is funded by the Arab partners, including the Saudi Fund for Development, the Kuwaiti Fund for Arab Economic Development, the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, and the OPEC Fund for International Development. I am also pleased to inform you that our government, working in close partnership with these same organizations and institutions, has secured funding to extend the pavement work from Salaye to Konya and from Konya to Vojima. An aid memorial has been signed with the African Development Bank for the pavement of additional roads corridor between Vojima and Menikoma in Lofa County, as well as between Kelopo in River G and Zweju in Grand Jida County, and these projects are included in the next batch for implementation. Work on the road corridor between Ganta to Yekepa, which is 67 kilometers, is progressing steadily, and asphalt pavement works began during the year under review. Here in our capital, city of Monrovia, construction works on the expanded 6-kilometer Coca-Cola factory to Iadawe Junction Road have begun, of which 2 kilometers of asphalt pavement is already completed. Rabat International Airport is the principal gateway to Liberia and presents the first impression of our country. However, we note with dissatisfaction the current state of the road corridor leading from the airport to Iyadere Junction. There have been many unfortunate incidents and accidents which need to claim our attention as national leaders. Our government has therefore identified the expansion and pavement of 45-kilometer RRA highway, complete with appropriate safety and lighting facility, as a project of national significance. Toward this end, preparations have been concluded to commence construction works on this corridor by March 2020. The World Bank has been very exemplary in lending support to our road sector and is now playing a lead role in our engagement with the private sector for the financing and constructions of the 225-kilometer Ganta to Tapeta to Zweju Highway. Consequently, the process of hiring a contractor for the first phase of this project, Ganta Tapeta, is ongoing. According to the project implementation schedule, construction works will begin by the second half of this year. In keeping with our commitment to ensure improved community roads, the government commenced the construction of new community roads projects in various communities in Monrovia, namely the Soul Clinic, Nickley Town, Burove Iron Gate to Banjo, Dwazon to St. Beach, Sophie to Catholic Hospital, PCA to Puebla, Tingo Village, Telecom, ABC Road, Douala, and the Rehab Road Network, amongst others. To date, the total community roads intervention under my administration is about 200 kilometers. Directly financed by the people of Liberia through the payment of their taxes to government. This is unprecedented in the history of our country, and I am grateful for your support, fellow Liberians. Let me also inform you that all community road projects which were earlier initiated and halted due to rainy season are still ongoing and will be completed as scheduled. During the year under review, the Chinese-funded ministerial complex building was dedicated and is now domiciled of the 6 government ministries and agencies. Additionally, as a result of our participation at the Forum of the China and Africa Cooperation, the FOCAC Summit, the government of the People's Republic of China accepted our request for the construction of 2 flyover interchanges to be constructed at the SKD Boulevard and the Ministerial Complex, intersection on the Tomo Boulevard. This preliminary design for these projects have been completed and project affected persons have been identified. Property ownership has been verified and clearance of the project site is now on the way for commencement of construction work. To forward this end, a Chinese technical delegation is expected to arrive in country by March of this year. The Japanese-funded Somalia Drive Road project, now named as the Japan Freeway, is nearing completion and will be dedicated early next year. In consonance with the decentralization of our road pavement program, government has commenced the pavement of streets in the capital city of 3 counties, namely Greenville, Barclayville, and Bapolu cities. Contractors on these projects are fully mobilized and are expected to begin construction work next month. This brings to 6 the number of counties in which we have intervened to pave city streets outside of Masurado. The dilapidated Timbo River Bridge linking Grand Bassa County to River Cess, and which serve as a primary conduit to the southeastern county, was successfully decommissioned and replaced with a brand new body bridge last year. With support from the European Union, maintenance work on the St. Paul Bridge to Bow Waterside Road and the Iadera to Buchanan Road are ongoing. We also note with satisfaction the positive contributions of the U.S. government to our feeder roads program, which witnessed the rehabilitations and maintenance of over 240 kilometers of feeder roads in Bong, Grand Bassa, Lofa, and Nima counties. Similarly, the Liberian-Swedish feeder road project, funded by the Swedish government, has rehabilitated and maintained over 460 kilometers of feeder roads in Bong, Lofa, Nima, Grand Jide, Maryland, River G, Sano, and Grand Crook County prior to and during the period under review. While our government is applying every effort to accelerate the full asphalt pavement of major corridor, we are also aware that the maintenance of existing lateral corridor is imperative to ensure the unhindered movement of goods and services. Against this backdrop, we have mandated the Ministry of Public Works to ensure that major road corridors in the country are maintained and pliable throughout the year, rain or shine. The condition of some of our streets in Monrovia is very challenging. We have therefore initiated a robust maintenance strategy which will see the Ministry of Public Works carry out asphalt maintenance on several inner city roads in Monrovia. An assessment of traffic lights in the city of Monrovia has been concluded. A contractor has been hired and our traffic lights will soon be on again. As you are aware, the Executive Mansion, which is the home to the presidency of our country, has been under renovation since an unfortunate fire incident 14 years ago. My administration is determined to bring to an end this protracted period of renovation by ensuring the full restoration of the executive mansion by the end of this year. Towards this end, we are providing the needed resources required to complete the executive mansion renovation work. Madam Vice President, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Pro Tempore, members of the 54th Legislature, infrastructure development, especially roads, connectivity, is cost intensive. Considering budgetary constraints, the rapid development of our roads connectivity program cannot be achieved without the strong support of our international development partners, lending institutions, and friendly government. It is with this sincere conviction that I, on behalf of the government and people of Liberia, take this opportunity to pay tribute and express our gratitude to our partners, including but not limited to the government of the United States, Great Britain, the People's Republic of China, Germany, Norway, Sweden, India, and Japan, among others. We are also grateful to the European Union, the European Investment Bank, and the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, EIB, the African Export-Import Bank, the World Bank, our Arab partner, including the Saudi Fund for Development, the Kuwaiti Fund for Arab Economic Development, the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, and the OPEC Fund for International Development, and the GRZ, GICA, CEDA, KFW, who currently has the largest road infrastructure financing portfolio in our country. Permit me to also salute our construction contractors and consultants, especially our local Liberian construction contractor, who are actively participated in the transformation work of our country. And I am determined to uphold my pledge that under my administration, Liberians will no longer be spectators in the economy of their country. This is why I note with pride and satisfaction the involvement of these local contractors, which represent the surest way of ensuring sustainability of these projects in the road sector. Madam Vice President and President of the Senate, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Pro Tempore, and honorable members of the 54th Legislature, when I took oath of office on January 22nd, 2018, I committed our country to upholding the dignity of human rights and to the protections of vulnerable populations, including women, girls, children, the elderly, young people, and people living with disability. To that end, I am pleased to inform you today that during the period under review, my government has implemented several programs which can serve as testimonies to the fulfillment of the promises we made. One of the most important developments in this regard is the passage during the second session of the Domestic Violence Bill. I am pleased to report that I signed this landmark bill into law in August last year, and it has been printed into handbills to become effective for implementation. As Liberia feminist in chief, I remain committed to making gender mainstreaming a matter of priority in the formulation of policies and programs that will drive the development of Liberia in the future. To that end, we intend to establish gender and social inclusion units in all government ministries, agencies, and commissions. We are grateful to have received initial funding for this initiative from the Millennium Challenge Account Liberia as a way of ensuring a systematic approach towards protection, the gender-based violence, comprehensive prevention strategy of leaving no one behind was developed and validated to highlight the protections of women, girls, men and boys against sexual and gender-based violence, SGBV, including marginalized groups. A memorandum of understanding has been signed between the Ministry of Internal Affairs, the National Council of Chiefs and Elders of Liberia, and the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection in June last year to suspend all bush school for a period of 1 year. This period will be used to conduct an inventory of traditional groups and map out traditional practitioners as an agreement actions in ending harmful traditional practices in Liberia. Madam President and President of the Senate, Mr. Speaker, pro tempore members of the 54th Legislature, 2 years ago, I pledged to accelerate actions toward advancing the nation's aspiration for oil and gas discovery. The intention was to ensure that the petroleum sector is managed in a way that promotes efficient institutional governance, integrates the principle of accountability and transparency, maximize revenue from potential petroleum resources, and support Liberian citizen participation. During the year under review, significant progress was made towards achieving this objective as required by the new Petroleum Reform Law 2014. Separations of the regulatory responsibility from the commercial operations was finalized through the signing of a transfer plan, thereby allowing the Liberia Petroleum Regulatory Authority and the National Oil Company of Liberia to operate independently but collaboratively in realizing this national objective. Subsequently, a review of the new petroleum law necessitated several changes, including systems for granting petroleum rights, mandatory Liberian business participation, adjustment to the maximum size of offshores and onshore blocks, among others, in order to ensure that the law conforms to international standards and best practices. These changes were necessary to place government in the position to seek the right investor through the adoption of a predictable, flexible, and investment attractive regulatory regime. following the 2019 amendment to the new petroleum law. LPRA, working in concert with NUCA, demarcated the entire Liberian offshore block, layout and sizes to conform to global grid system in adherence to an ECOWAS mandate to all member states. This exercise has resulted into 33 offshore blocks from the previous 30 blocks. It also allowed for petroleum rights to be granted through international competitive bidding, direct negotiation, and executive allocation to NUCA. My fellow Liberians, I am pleased to announce to you today that the government of Liberia, through the Liberia Petroleum Regulatory Authority, will open up the entire Harbour Basin during the next lesson round beginning in April. 9 offshore blocks will be put up, allowing competent and reputable international oil and gas companies to bid, with the hope of recommencing exploration program. Following years of inactivity, details of the lessons round will be made available in the coming weeks through a partnership between LPRA and NUCA. Madam Vice President and President of the Senate, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Pro Tempore, and members of the 54th Legislature, Liberia cannot realize full economic transformation without a vibrant agriculture program. Agriculture is critical to the kind of development my government strives to achieve. This is why the sector remains a major pillar of the country's development agenda. With the program to connect the various communities and counter through qualitative paved roads network, now fully mobilized funding and on the way, the next big push by my administration this year will be to recognize the agriculture sector and put it at the front burner of our national development initiatives. A greater investment in the sector will not only guarantee food security, but will also provide jobs and a source of livelihood for thousands of families across Liberia. That is why my vetting and selecting of a new agriculture minister was comprehensive and thoroughly. I believe we have found the right person to lead this charge. The nominee is a woman whose track record, competence, and dedication match my vision for agricultural transformation in Liberia. I hope that you will share my view and grant her speedy confirmation so that she can urgently embark upon the great task that is before her. And if she cannot do it, then I do not know who else will find to do it. Over the coming months, the government intends to harness both local and international support and resources to lead a new agriculture drive, which will focus on the entire value chain, from the remote farmland to the sprawling marketplace across the country. We will exert every effort to subsidize the works of more farmers and local cooperative with the objective of enhancing productivity. Whereas the country has traditionally focused on rice production, we must begin to work with authorities in the sector and our international counterparts to look at ways we can fully cultivate other cash crops such as cocoa and coffee. Our neighbors have gained international acclaim for the production and exportation of these products, when actually their natural endowment are not that different from ours. Therefore, we will join ongoing efforts by the European Union and others to revamp and make the coffee and cocoa sector viable and profitable. We will assist farmers to increase their yield through new farming methods and modernization. Over the years, millions of dollars were put into agriculture with very little result to show. This new drive will tap on available knowledge and experience while working with international partners and local farmers to lead a new program that empowers Liberians through agribusiness in order to grow the economy. We expect the new minister, if confirmed by the Senate, to bring harmony to the various efforts in the sector for efficiency and greater productivity. We will be seeking the help of our honorable legislature in this regard, working with the appropriate committee of both houses. We have already secured the commitment of key local and international stakeholders who are supportive of our new drive to upgrade agriculture so that the country can reap its full benefits. Liberia's comparative advantage lies in its fertile soil, vast quantity of arable land, and suitable climatic conditions. We must therefore make the best of what we are gifted with. Therefore, invite everyone, particularly the youth, to join us as we overhaul the agriculture sector. Madam Vice President, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Pro Tempore, members of the 54th Legislature, traditional economics tell us that agriculture surplus should lead to industrialization, but our government plans to leapfrog this process through the special economic zone concept. It is our intention to promote labor-intensive light manufacturing through the establishment of special economic zones. We are cognizant of our infrastructure challenges, which pose certain hurdles, but with a well-organized special economic zone program, domestic production by small and medium enterprises will get the needed boost to spur economic growth. The special economic zone is a vehicle that will create jobs, opportunities, increase personal incomes, and add value to unprocessed raw material for exports. Thanks to our partners, feasibility studies have already begun for the development of a special economic zone in Buchanan, Grand Bassa County. In the meantime, we intend to test a pilot project in the free zone area located within the vicinity of the National Port Authority in Monrovia. Madam President, Madam Vice President, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Pro Tempore, members of the 54th Legislature, during the year under review, visits were made to the following countries and conferences. State visits to the State of Israel, state visit to the United Arab Emirates, a state visit to the Republic of Guinea, official visit to the Republic of Gabon, Abuja, Nigeria, to attend that country's Democratic Day, subsequently to participate in the 55th Summit of the Authority of Head of States and Government of ECOWAS. Yokohama, Japan, for the Tokyo International Conference on African Development, TICA 7. New York, the United States of America, for the 74th session of the United Nations General Assembly. Paris, France, to participate in the second Paris Peace Forum. Niamey, Niger, to attend an extraordinary session of the Authority of Heads of States and Government of ECOWAS. Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, to attend an extraordinary summit of ECOWAS on counterterrorism. Madam Vice President, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Pro Tempore, and members of the 54th Legislature, during the period under review, our country also paid host to several high-ranking officials of the international community, those who visited us, including the following, amongst others: His Excellency Lassana Ouattara, President of the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire; His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria; His Excellency Professor Alpha Conde, President of the Republic of Guinea; His Excellency Macky Sall, President of the Republic of Senegal; His Excellency Roch Marc Christian Kambouare, President of the Republic of Burkina Faso; His Excellency Julius Maada Bio, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone; Mr. Mohamed Albion Chimbas, Special Representatives of the Secretary General of the United Nations for West Africa and the Sahel; His Excellency Dr. Jean-Claude Cassibur, President of the Commission of the Economic Community of West Africa State, the ECOWAS; Mrs. Marie Rose, U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for Educational and Cultural Affairs; Dr. Akiwumi Ayodeji Adesina, President, African Development Bank. Official visits of a bipartisan delegation from the United States Congress, House Democracy Partnership, headed by the Honorable David Price of North Carolina. Members included the Honorable McWayne Moline of Oklahoma, Honorable Dina Tatus of Nevada, Honorable Aman Adams of North Carolina, Honorable Dinah DeJet of Colorado, Honorable Barbara Lee of California, and Honorable Andre Carson of Indiana. Madam Vice President, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Pro Tempore, and members of the 54th Legislature, on a sober note, a number of officials of the past and present government, as well as several permanent Liberian citizens, passed from early labor to internal rest. They include, but are not limited, to Honorable Edward Dakosa, Senator of Grand Cape, former Senator of Grand Cape County; Honorable Geraldine Doe Sharif, former Senator of Mosurado County; Honorable Adolph A. Lawrence, former representative of the District 15, Mosurado County; Honorable Charles Walker Bromsky, former President pro tempore of the Liberian Senate and political leader of the Liberty Party; Honorable David Strice, Ambassador Alash; Honorable Vicinius Hughes, former representative from Grand Bassa County; Honorable Frederick Cheru, former Senator of Riwaji County and former Minister of Justice. The full list of all deceased officials and permanent citizens is published in the official gazette of the Republic of Liberia. May their souls and the souls of all the faithful departed rest in perfect peace. Amen. Madam Vice President and President of the Senate, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Pro Tempore, and members of the 54 Legislature, I would now like to break with tradition and respectfully beg your kind permission to allow me to speak directly to the Liberian people. I will assume that your silence means consent, and so I will proceed accordingly. Thank you. My fellow Liberians, it has been just over 24 months since you voted me and the Coalition for Democratic Change into office. Before that resounding victory, we were all out there together in the political wilderness, struggling for social justice and for improvement in our economic conditions, improvement in our lives and livelihoods, and hoping for a better future for ourselves and our children. It is against this backdrop of social injustice that I, out of my love and concern for my country and people, was motivated to present myself as a catalyst of hope, peace, and change to lead a mass movement that will challenge the status quo and become a voice of the voiceless and offer hope to the hopeless. It is out of these aspirations that 16 years ago, at 38 years of age, I was inspired to found the Liberia National Congress, LINC, which was later become the Congress for Democratic Change, as a political movement with the objective of challenging the existing political order peacefully through the ballot box, and in order to seek justice for the poor, the disadvantaged, and the marginalized in our society. Together, we dreamed the impossible dream, and after 12 years of non-violent struggle, our dreams were realized. The rest is now a part of Liberian political history. The now Coalition for Democratic Change was swept into office by a landslide of 61.5% of the popular votes, decisively defeating the ruling party that have been in office for 12 years. My fellow Liberians, I am fully aware, and I will never forget, that this resounding victory was born out of trust and confidence that you had in me, and were based on a yearning for change and betterment. I'm sure that you are beginning to see that your confidence in me was well placed and justified. As some of the fruits of my labor begin to emerge in just 2 short years. Although we have had economic issues, the change that I promise can still be felt. I know that you would like to see these changes take place more rapidly, and this is completely understandable. But what is important is that the change has already begun. I was aware when I offered myself for leadership that many things were wrong with this country. Many things were broken in this economy, and many things would need to be corrected, revised, reversed, cancel, and otherwise rectified before real progress could be made. There is no doubt in my mind, and there has never been any such doubt, that I have the ability to meet these challenges heads on, to deal with them decisively and successfully, and thereby justify the confidence that you have reposed in me. Without trying to make any excuses, let me explain that many of the problems that my government has inherited are external problems and require solutions, which must include global and innovative approaches. Again, some of the problems are structural in nature and have been around for many decades. We are currently carrying out structural adjustments to our economy, but we will not reap the benefit in the short term, but rather in the medium to a long term. I sense you're impatient, but I would like to tell you today, my dear fellow Liberians, that I am fully preoccupied in the search for lasting solution to the problem that we have all faced as a nation and as a people for so long. Development and transformation is a process which takes place over time. It is not an overnight event. Progress and growth always take time. However, in spite of this, I've used a few months that I've been in office to utilize the limited resources that are available to me to implement several projects and programs that are beginning to have a quick and direct impact on your lives of our people, on the lives of our people, and in the short term. I've already enumerated some of them earlier in this address, so there is no need to mention them now. But what I'm very pleased and excited about is that the confidence that you repose in me that brought me to leadership of this nation has been seen and felt by the international community globally, both institutionally and bilaterally. Because of the trust that produced our overwhelming victory, our international partner are standing with us to make sure that your hope of a better life becomes a reality. They have wholeheartedly embraced me and my government as agent of change. During the first trimester of my tenure, they have worked closely with my administration and have been convinced of our sincerity and determination to provide a better life for the Liberian people, and have accordingly responded in a positive manner. I have expressed my thanks and gratitude to them earlier in this message, and there is no need to do so again. But please allow me to do so again anyhow. Thank you, members of the international community, our development partner, both institutional, bilateral, and multilateral, for all that you have done for Liberia and are still doing to assist my government to bring development, growth, transformation, and prosperity to the Liberian people. Merci beaucoup. Our international partners have fully supported my vision and plan for the transformation and development of Liberia, and have provided this government with hundreds of millions of dollars in loans and grants, professional advice and guidance, as well as technical support to make our dreams for you come true. Accordingly, many projects have already been funded and have either started or are about to start. These projects represent the seeds of infrastructure development which have been planted in this first season. They will soon germinate and become green shoots of progress. And many of them are expected to come to full bloom in the next year, and will make a lasting and positive impact on your lives and your future. If we continue to work together and avoid the things that can disrupt the economy, we will see higher levels of growth in 2022 and 2023 and beyond. But we must work together as Liberians to achieve this. We must put aside our political differences. No matter what your political affiliation, we are all Liberians. We are one country, Liberia. And unless we work together, despite our differences, our country would not go forward. And so, I ask you to bear with me. And as we say in our Liberian way, give me small chance, yeah? So I can face it. No one among us here is perfect. And I am not exception. I am sure that since you voted me into office, there are some things that I have done that I could have done better or differently. But again, as we say in our Liberian palace, are on it. I am on it. And I will do it. And we will do it together. I want you to know that I wake up eagerly every morning to work hard for Liberia, so that each night I can go to sleep with the satisfaction and confidence that Liberia has moved a little higher and a little further through our leadership. Madam Vice President, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Pro Temporary members of the 54th Legislature, one of the accomplishments of my administration, of which I am most proud, is that we have kept the peace in Liberia from day one until now by ourselves. I want to say to you all Liberians, congratulations. For almost 12 years before we came to office, the peace in Liberia was maintained by thousands of foreign soldiers on our soil, protecting us from each other, protecting the people from the government, and protecting the government from the people. Since the departure of the peacekeeper, we have kept the peace, not by force of arm or military might, but by the shared political will of the government and its calm and professional approach to the management and resolution of conflicts. This is a proud achievement, especially in view of the fact that there have been many dissident voices and differences of view since we came to office, some of which resulted in peaceful street protests. Our human rights record is pristine clear. In 2 years, not a single bullet has been fired in anger by this government at any of our citizens. And consequently, there have been no death from street protests. No persons have been arrested for exercising their constitutional rights of peaceful assembly. And above all, there are no persons who are being jailed because of their political beliefs or association. Every citizen has the right under the constitutions to have dissenting views and to express them freely and peacefully under the guidelines provided therein. And so, we welcome these exercises of democratic rights and freedom and consider them as positive proof of a healthy and functional democracy. We as government are duty-bound by the relevant article of our Constitution to protect the rights of our citizens, including those that are not involved in demonstrations and protests. And will continue to do so under the oath that I swore. Let me assure you that I will always look for ways and opportunities and create the necessary forum for peaceful dialogue among citizens who may have different points of view, where even if these differences cannot be resolved, we agree amicably to disagree. I therefore call upon you, my fellow Liberians, to work with me towards achieving a reconciled, united, and prosperous nation. Without peace, there can be no progress. Without peace, there can be no development. Without peace, there can be no growth. Without peace, there can be no prosperity. Whatever we do, whatever our differences, let us always take the path of peace. We want peace in our land. And so, my fellow Liberians, this is my pledge that I make to you today. Honor my leadership. Liberia will prosper. I will provide you with quality leadership, a leadership of inclusive participation, openness, and accountability aimed at reducing poverty and improving the quality of life for all. This, in essence, is the true meaning and purpose of the pro-poor agenda. And so, I say to you, bravo, fellow Liberians, bravo. God bless you all. And God bless Mama Liberia, so that she will become a glorious land of liberty by God's command. I thank you.
We ask that all of us remain standing as the executive committees escort the president to a holding place, a holding room, whilst the rest of us will proceed to the reception hall. And let us remember that the legislature is still in session, so please remain where you are.
Executive Committee, Joint Committee, please escort the President to the rotunda.
We are still in session. We are still in session. Please remain at your seats. Please remain at your seats.
Please be seated.
After the adjournment, please switch over to our own feed so we can close the program. We can get close the prematurely, please. No, I get power.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen of this 54th Legislature, having exhausted the sole purpose for which we convened this joint legislative session, the chair will entertain a motion for adjournment. The Honorable Henry Yala of Bond County.
Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Dr. Boko Chambers, Presiding Officer, the Honorable Deputy Speaker, distinguished colleagues of the 54th National Legislature, having exhausted the single business for which this session was convened, I move, if I can obtain a second, that this session be adjourned.
Will we receive a second from the House of Representatives, Honorable Abu Bana Kamara of District Number 15.
Honorable Speaker, Deputy Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I, Abu Bana Kamara, from District 15, Moserado County, so second.
Without any equivocation and without restating the motion, are you ready to vote? All those in favor making known by saying yea, against. Distinguished colleagues, with this being undebatable, the motion carried. This session is so adjourned.
Thank you. We ask that you please follow the protocol as relates to the reception All of the tables are marked and labeled. Please make sure you find your seat. The protocol will assist you in seating you. Thank you.
There's too poor between him and your husband. Well, you're showing full video. All right, there you have it. This is Liberia National Television. Right here in the joint chamber of the Legislature, where His Excellency Dr. George Manuel Weah just delivered his third annual legislative message here at the Legislature. And of course, he stressed on so many important issues ranging from infrastructure, education, road rehabilitation, construction. He talked about so many important things, even the livelihood of the Liberian people, the economy, how to diversify it, and the economy in so many aspects. And so today, like I said earlier, we have the Deputy Director General for Media, that's our real broadcast. I always say media services. In person of our Honorable Weah J.F. Weah. He's been here since we started the broadcast. He's here also, he still has Honorable Weah. You listen to the President. I guess that gave us a summary of what he said, actually.
The President's speech was very succinct. It was straight to the point. The President spoke about the various achievements made in several sectors. He spoke about his plan to revamp our infrastructure. He spoke about his desire for the agriculture sector. In fact, he said that this year or the years preceding, his government is going to pay very keen attention to the issue of agriculture. He called on the members of the Liberian Senate to see the need to confirm the Minister of Agriculture designate so that she can go to work straight, because he believed that this woman comes to the table with a lot of capacity, with wealth of knowledge and experience to be able to revamp our broken agriculture sector. So those are some of the very important and key things. The President also stressed on the need for us to sustain the peace. He also thanked the international community for the level of support that they have given to his government and to the people of Liberia in moving and sustaining the peace and developing our country. So those are some of the very important issues that the President stressed on. The core value of the speech is that we must maintain the peace and continue to support each other so that Liberia can become that country that we continue to envisage in the next years to come.
Thank you so much. This has been Weah J.F. Weah. He's the deputy for rural broadcasting. Actually, he's been here fully assisting in this process. Weah did not just give analysis, Weah also help to maintain the team here on the ground. And on behalf of the entire team, Buffer Lloyd, James Williams, Joseph Smythe, let me take my list before I get into trouble. We have Micah Carr, Anthony Williams, Zach Greaves on camera, and the rest of the guys, including Emmanuel Kipper on radio. I saw Moses Double.
Yeah.
He was also on radio. And I tell you, the entire LPS team here, Linda Sherman. Linda Sherman and Emmanuel Yinango, all of them have been here. They've been assisting the broadcast here. And we thank you so much, A.B. Taylor, Prince Corderwell, and the rest of the guys at studio. You've been doing very fine here. You've been very supportive of this effort. On behalf of the entire team, we say kudos. Studio, you can take over from here.
Thank you very much.
It's a lot.